We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the South East Nation, the Malakadee people of the Yuin River, and the Lilliquani people of the far south. We recognise their continuing connection to land, water and culture, and we pay our respects to their elders past and present. Tonight in attendance we have Deputy Mayor Thorpe, Councillor Armstrong, Councillor Jessup, Councillor Robertson, Councillor Gibson, Councillor O'Neill and Councillor Mrozek. Would you like to introduce your staff, please?
Sure. Tonight we have General Counsel Matthew Grimsey, Director of Community and Place Lyle Ground, Acting Director Infrastructure and Assets Sue McCarter, Acting Director of People and Corporate Services Raylene Watson, and Support Staff Innovation and Technology Project Officer Connor Watson, Executive Assistant Olga Barth, Senior Manager of Business Enterprises Andrew Bourne, and Senior Manager of Finance Tracy Hankin.
Thank you. We have no apologies tonight. We have no leave of absent tonight. We have no one absent. Declarations. Councillors, do any of you wish to declare any interest in any of tonight's agenda items? Yes, Councillor Robertson.
Yes, and now I have to remember the numbers. Sorry. So there's one in closed council.
Is there an agenda item number?
And yep, and sorry, I can't find it.
It's a report, isn't it?
Oh no, I think we worked out. No, I'm not declaring an interest in that. No, so
No.
I've got an interest in that one, but not in the other one. Yep.
You're right.
So just the closed council item.
Okay, which we still haven't found the number.
Closed general information.
19.0.
19 point.
19.1018/26.
You're right with that, Amy?
Yep.
All right.
No, it's not 26.
26 is the year, so it's 19.018.
No, I think it's 19.10.3.
Slash 26. Which is the...
Closed operational reports.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Well done, thank you. You've got a form there if you haven't. We'll get one and then just fill that out for us. All right, no others? Nope. Okay. 4.004/26, recommendation. Do I have a councillor to move a motion that the minutes of the ordinary meeting 25th of March 2026 as circulated be confirmed? Councillor O'Neill and Councillor Gibson. Do any councillors wish to report any changes? Okay, that's the case. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors. The motion is carried. 5, legislative items. Do we have any tonight?
Yes, we have one, so I'll table that as follows. So on Thursday, 26th of March 2026, I received a Code of Conduct Panel Determination Report made pursuant to Section 28Z of the Local Government Act 1993 in relation to a complaint made by Mr Jeffrey Swan against Councillors Doyle, Mrozek and Armstrong. The complaint was lodged on 28th of October 2025. So Section 28ZK Part 4 of the Local Government Act 1993 provides if the General Manager receives a determination report but no addendum, the General Manager is to ensure that a copy of the determination report is included within an item on the agenda for the first meeting of the relevant council at which it is practicable to do so and which is open to the public. The determination report is tabled and included as an attachment to this item in the agenda.
Thank you. Okay. Urgent matters?
No.
No. I just would like to say, and I'm sure when we come back to councillors, you'll have your chance. I would like just to thank all the local groups and sub-branches for all they do to make Anzac Day so memorable for our ex and current service personnel. I think we all admit that the days have been run very compassionately and well done. So, so thanks to the groups and to the sub-branches. Well done. Answers to questions taken on notice. There was no questions taken on notice from previous meeting. There was no questions given on notice. Questions without notice. There were 4 questions without notice emailed in for tonight's meeting. That was from Mike Tenner, Phil Oddy, Heather Greatbatch regarding extension of sealed section on Mountain River Road, and from Chris Wilson regarding health and safety of Yuan residents and community resilience in the event of a fire. All answers are available on the website and will be included in the minutes. So now we come to public question time. If you have a question as the chair, I will ask you to come forward to the lectern and identify yourself by name and area you live. To make things fair and equitable, we have a limit of 2 questions per person. We normally allocate 15 minutes, but if we can get through them and we've got time, we'll allow others. All questions must be directed to me as the chairperson. I will answer the question or refer the question to another councillor or to the CEO. Every attempt will be made to provide an answer, but if not, we'll take it on notice for the next meeting. Debate on questions cannot be entered into. The council cannot make decisions on issues that arise in public question time. So, is there anyone who would like to come forward and ask a question? Thank you, Chris.
Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council staff and councillors, thank you. I'm a bit confused by the process, which doesn't take a lot. I guess it goes back to June last year when I asked a question about the shared pathway, and that became a protracted thing. I came here a few times, didn't ever get a resolution. Then I was driving along one day, I think I'd submitted some questions about that and then saw that the pathway was being built, and I thought, great, so there's a process that I don't understand and need clarification with. So I hear that you've read through my questions today, so it's quite a lengthy thing. So I'll just go over it just briefly. So in 2018, I think it was, we got a petition from virtually all the residents along Abels Bay Road. 2 people didn't want to sign it because they liked the fact it was a dirt road, but everybody else was very interested, and the main concern was dust. Certainly that's my main concern. The hooning's a bit of a worry, and it is, I'd like to just, and I appreciate the problem that you have with 500 and something, 80 kilometres of unsealed roads. And when I spoke to the manager who came to talk to me during this process, he said to me that it was actually cheaper to maintain an unsealed road than a sealed road. And that was certainly, that's a different matter, but I did become aware today of a thing called Bindex, which is a biological agent that stabilises roads. And it's used in mining towns and all that, and where mining roads go past towns, because it's a hell of a lot cheaper. It builds the roads. It certainly uses less water, or requires less water to keep the dust down. That's not an issue here. We just don't do that at all. And apparently it's not toxic when it runs off into the stormwater. So that's an issue I would like council to consider, because it's all in all our interest if we can get a solution that's cost effective. Because certainly the costing of that grading is an expensive option, and doesn't resolve the problem of dust. So, and that the manager at that time, and I can't remember his name, he said to me that, because I asked him, I said, well, what about the obligations of councils to the health of the residents? And he said, well, as far as I'm concerned, there's none. Which I was staggered. So that's the main tenet of my question, and all of these things are to do with the same thing. So
if we can take that, if you can give to Olga.
I've said that's the question. I communicated with Olga the other day.
All right. Okay. So can we take that? I mean, we've answered what we can, but yeah.
If you'd like to, at any time, you can obviously send a question into council. It doesn't have to be dealt with in council, and it certainly doesn't need to be repeated at the meeting if we've already answered it in writing, which is the case tonight. On Bindex, and there's many products that have been used to seal dust on dirt roads all over the place. Typically, they are used in construction sites and mining, usually paid for by the mining companies, because residents have a justifiable concern about huge trucks going through very dusty environments that are nowhere like the dust in the Huon Valley. They work temporarily. They come at quite significant cost, and this council and multiple other councils have considered them, and more than happy to provide you some information on that. We'll do so as a matter of course.
So when I went through that process 8 years ago, the amount of money for the very popular tourist route, and in summertime there's all the grey nomads and their big rigs go through, and there is clouds of dust, or a truck goes through, or if anybody goes through at 60, or even, if the Hooners come by, dust is a real issue.
Yeah, we have a real problem with other areas as well, Chris, so it's not just there.
I fully take that
We
on.
have other roads that have constant traffic, and people are worried about the dust.
And agricultural areas too,
yeah.
particularly. Look,
So, as Lockie said, the question, I think, will go up on our in the minutes and up on our website. So, unless you've got a new one, have you got?
The other one was
Yeah.
about, so the second question was about, and if you could answer those 3 questions in your own time, that's fine. So I wrote in February letters to various politicians and organisations about fuel reduction on Crown land,
Yes.
and also about the process of bushfire assessment levels. Because I know that with our building, there was a real, and there still is a real issue. So the fuel reduction, and I've talked with Hannah, and I respect her point of view, but I think that we're in a time of increasing climate change, and we can see it all around us. So we are going to get severely bitten on the bum sometime or other. There is very little being done in reducing fuel, and it's a huge problem. I've been working with Jason Andrew Smith, Julian Irie, and I think, me and Palawa managed this place with about 20,000 people. We think, we don't know how many people were here, but that was their full-time job, looking at the country. So in that letter, it's a complex issue. I've proposed a different way of looking at things, and so all I'm asking is that council, I really haven't had a response from council. I've talked to Hannah about the urgency of it, but I think it would be good to get a
tied to
letter.
local acts too, Chris. This is the problem that we have. There is acts that council works under, and so we can lobby for things, we can ask for change, but it all comes down to they are working within the lines that they are working
There has
in.
to be changes there, and so all I'm asking is for support for the concept. It's an early day, so I'd really like to talk to you about it. I personally think it's a great idea because it's involving community, and it's building community resilience, and it's a way of bonding us all together because everybody's concerned about this.
All
So-
right. Well, if you've got any further comment to that, or we'll just take it.
I'm not sure what the question is, and I think we have responded to you. We've outlined our statutory limitations and the extent of our authority. I understand we disagree on that, but we're very confident in that statutory position. And if there's a council meeting isn't the time the question time isn't a debating forum.
No.
It's not the time we have many people that work with officers all the time over their particular subject matter. You have the availability to talk to our resilience unit about your idea and take it further. If council then need to make a decision and there comes to be a question to council, that should be brought up in this kind of forum.
Yeah.
This forum isn't one where we can provide that kind of information backwards and forwards to you.
No.
So again, this same question has already been answered. It's already in the minutes. We've given a fulsome response that does talk to the previous response we've also provided to you. So yeah, we will come back to you on the ideal way to carry forward your concerns and how we can try to manage your expectations.
Okay, I look forward to it.
All right. Okay.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Chris. Do you have any? Yes. Thank you.
Liz Smith from Sigmund. Yeah, I have a couple of questions and then possibly a supplementary. My first question is regarding agenda number 16.00626 of the People and Corporate Services Report, and it's about strategic planning projects. The Signet Structure Plan has been under consideration for some time, and we have looked forward to progress. So it was disappointing to learn that adjustments to strategic planning projects include 3 important projects for Signet, totaling 150,000 that are proposed to be deferred. These projects are the Signet Township and Heritage Plan, $25,000 to be finalised in 26-27. Signet Heritage Amendments, $50,000, deferred to 27-28. And the Signet Special Area Plan, $75,000, deferred to 28-29. To quote from the report, it appears that these adjustments are primarily due to the Huonville Reimagine grant planning works, which have required significant officer time and diverted resources from other planned projects. Based on past experience, the current world situation and the outlook for inflation, the cost of these projects will significantly increase over the next few years. So my question is, has the council considered employing a consultant to combine these 3 projects to speed up the strategic planning process for Signet so that in the longer term, significant savings will be made and planning for Signet can progress?
Okay, I'm going to pass that one through to the director, if that's...
Brilliant, mate. So Reimagine is but one reason. The other reason is that the Signet Structure Plan has taken longer than we anticipated. It's obviously quite a significant plan. It has 2 main focuses, obviously Signet as a whole, and then it has our council-owned sites and the sort of more detailed planning going on in that space. So things like the SAP that you referenced, those require a fulsome structure plan before we can execute a SAP. The other thing to mention is that where we previously used consultants, we're starting to build in-house capacity and be able to deliver outputs at a much lower cost in terms of like a SAP or even reviewing heritage aspects in the Signet area. The thing to consider is we've been very conservative in those dates that we've given there in terms of forecasting when that expenditure might occur. We are looking at our resourcing, but we are awaiting the deed from the federal government in terms of the specifics of what can be funded through the Reimagine Huonville grant, and that will then inform how we resource, and that will then inform how we can then look at the other projects that we have on the books and how we can deliver those in parallel to that. So we've been conservative in what we've shown in the report, but we are looking to bring that forward depending on what we can and cannot fund through the grant program.
Okay, I think I understand some of that. My second question is about road safety. And it's been really encouraging that speed limits on state roads, that is the Channel Highway between Huonville and Signet, Nichols Rivulet and Signet, have been recently decreased to 80 kilometres an hour, making the road safer and limiting overtaking. The speed limit between Huonville and Grove has also been reduced over the entire length of that highway this year, or maybe late last year, recently anyway. However, the Huon Highway between Huonville and Dover still has several short sections of road where the speed limit is still 100 kilometres an hour, even though this is clearly not an appropriate driving speed in most instances. Clearly, council staff travel this road and must be familiar with the changing speed limits that are not always appropriate. So my question is, does the council have a responsibility and a role to work with the Department of State Growth to ensure that the speed limits on the Huon Highway south of Huonville are assessed and adjusted so that the road is safer for residents and visitors?
Okay, thank you. I'll take it on notice to be able to come back to you with a formal response. road safety speed limits, as we know, are state growth or government, unless they're our roads. But I know lots of people that don't know when roads are going to change, don't know, that don't have a say in it. I think it's up to the people that live in the areas to let the government know if they want, because there's been other areas that have changed that hasn't had a come to council. There's other roads that have had speed limits changed that I haven't known about. So residents must be letting people know.
There
So-
have been petitions to council.
Yes, I know, but there's been other changes where there hasn't been petitions come to council. So community themselves that live in those areas must have rallied and contacted state growth, because we haven't seen any petitions here and there's been changes. So it shouldn't always come back to council. People,
No, I understand.
yeah.
I think the council could take an initiative, however. And that's what I'm asking. I do have a quick question. Since the buses have been free, there's been a greatly increased use of the buses as far as I can see. And I'm wondering whether council is actually looking at and recording the number of cars in the car parks that are fairly close to the bus interchange in Huonville, because it seems to me that there are a lot more cars. You have to go a bit further out in order to get a parking space at the moment. Is there any record of this?
Through you, Mayor. So it's they were often full prior to these changes, and they're more full and full now. So there has definitely been an uptake.
Yeah.
The actual data that we are getting, I meant to request it this week, is an update on the actual the bus utilisation figures down here, because we have those for pre the fuel issues.
Good.
So seeing what the actual utilisation is, but no, we don't have a formal car park volume measuring program in place at the moment. And the truth of the matter is those cars are filtering out across a pretty wide area because we have a pretty constrained area down there. The only other thing to say is that we are working with the state government as part of the network planning process that we've talked about here before. They have now reached out, and as part of our Huonville Reimagined strategic planning is public transport planning, and so we are in active conversation with them about end of trip facilities for public transport down here. So expanding car parking, improving shelters, etc. Early days, but it's all incorporated into that land use planning process.
Okay, that's good. It seems to me that there's a lot more cars around, and they're parking across the other side of the road as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do I have any other? Yes, come forward. Just say your name and where you're from for the record. Thank you.
Neil Scars from Garden Island Creek. Now, I believe it was the meeting before last or the one before that.
Yeah.
This is the first chance I get to be here. I was there that time, and council was discussing road safety and speed limits, actually. And there was a lot of talk about changing speed limits, like lowering them or not lowering them. However, one issue might be very interesting to think about for council. There is a difference between nighttime and daytime, especially in Tasmania, on road safety because of animals on the road. Now, would council consider a difference in speed limit between the night and the day, representing the vulnerability of the animals and drivers driving at night, which might be wise to lower it or at least encourage people to drive more slowly, representing the vulnerability of those animals, and Tasmania being the roadkill capital of the world, and the safety of drivers who might run into them and sway off roads.
Okay.
I'll take it on notice so that we can give you actual advice. It's my understanding, though, that there isn't the capacity to have variable night and day speed limits in Tasmania. The state authority prefers not to have changing speed conditions. They set a speed that's safe under all conditions, albeit drivers have to drive to the conditions, and the expectation is that you take an informed decision to slow down at night. The most that we do in this state is advisory signs around high wildlife areas, slow down, dusk till dawn type warning signage, but that is very different to the actual speed advisory signs. But we'll confirm it in writing that is the case, and there isn't something I don't know about where you can have a variable speed limit.
Okay.
So we will
So-
find out.
I'll make that my second question. So council said, so there is the speed limit encompasses like all conditions at all times of the day. Is one of those conditions considered animals on the road at night as well?
Well, that'll come in
Yeah,
part of
that-
that.
I can answer that. Ultimately, council doesn't set speed limits in the state, so we'll look at what the state government advice is, and if that's not just clearly available, we might have to ask some questions to answer your particular animal concern.
So we'll get back to you on that one.
Thank you.
No problems. There you go. You're right. If you could go to Olga, she'll be able to, so we can get back to you.
Name and last name and your email address, please.
Yeah, do I have any other to ask questions? No? Okay. Well, thank you for those that we've had. Thank you very much. Okay, deputations. Are there any deputations?
No.
Petitions?
No.
Okay. Right. Council now is acting as a planning authority. In accordance with the provisions of Part 2, Regulation 29 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures, Regulation 2025, the Council will now act as a planning authority pursuant to Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993. In accordance with Regulation 29, the Council will act as a planning authority in respect to those matters appearing under item 10 on this agenda, inclusive of any supplementary items. It is important to be aware that your role as a councillor and as a member of a planning authority are different. The key differences relate to decision making. As a member of council, your decision may be swayed by council feedback, but as a member of a planning authority, your decisions must be based on the provisions of the planning scheme. The above snippet from the Good Governance Guide makes it quite clear the importance of wearing what hat you are wearing for planning. But I say that at the beginning of every planning decision that we make. So, report number 10.004/26, fish processing factory intensification, including upgrade of on-site waterway treatment plant, car parking, lighting and associated works. So I'm going to refer the councillors to the recommendation and the full report here, which has a lot of conditions. I'll refer the councillors to that. Do I have a councillor to move the motion, please? Councillor Mrozak and Councillor O'Neill. Councillor Mrozak, would you wish to speak to this motion?
Indeed, I would.
Yep, just before you start, I just do want to remind everybody that questions relating to the DA, as many as you like, but there've got to be questions to do with the DA, and your statement, apart from the person that opens, there is one chance to have a statement. But questions to do with the DA, you can ask as many as you like. So sorry, Lucas, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me just take a breath for a second. It was indeed a very intense and dense report to get through. Just under 1,000 pages of the environment impact statement provided by TESL, plus just over 100 pages as a response by the EPA. From planning perspective, I think it is welcoming that we see an improvement in this, or the proposal for an improvement of this wastewater treatment plant, which ultimately should lead to better effluent conditions. Unfortunately, I'm not quite sure how much trust I can give into the provided documents as part of the environment impact statement provided by TESL and the response by the EPA based on this information. Main issues that I have here are the out-of-dateness of some of the expert advice that have been used by the EPA to form their assessment. There are a series of appendices to the EIS. I refer to Appendix H, I, J, and K in particular, which are the Environmental Impact Assessment by Marine Solution, which is dated August 21. The Water Quality Assessment by CEE, dated July 22. The Solids and Management, Wastewater Treatment and Solids Management Plan, dated October 23. And the Air Emissions Assessment, dated June 22. My problem with that is that this seems a long time ago to make an informed decision about what's actually currently happening there, especially given the fact that the diffuser has been replaced and upgraded in 22, and when the marine environment assessment is dated in 21 before the upgrade, then those numbers presented in this report are not reflecting what's happening now after the upgrade of the diffuser. So I'm a little bit worried about the values that are presented there and how up to date they are, how up to date they are. This seems a long time ago. The question on that would be, what is the general kind of expiry date on an expert report? Is it 2 years, 3 years? Like, how long are those things valid? That would be my first question in that context. But to just go further on the EIS, I would like to make a few notes on the stakeholder engagement plan that was part of the documentation as well. The stakeholders and consultants on page 446 of the full agenda lists only consultants, and I was surprised to see that, because I thought for a development of this size, which with a lot of public community interest, would have considered more stakeholder engagement, and I think the community should be considered a stakeholder. So I wonder why only the consultants are listed in this list. That seems a little bit one-sided, especially because they are all paid for writing all those reports. So it's like, where are the stakeholders in this picture, and why are we not on this list either, as Huon Valley Council? That's kind of so far the main concerns on the environment impact statement by Tassal. But further, I would like to note a few things on the environment assessment report by the EPA. Without wanting to be disrespectful, it felt like, and maybe it was just because I read it over and over again, but I felt like I had a déjà vu reading the EAR. It felt like a lot of repetition from the Tassal EIS, and all the figures, tables, graphs, everything has been just replicated, and I would have wished that there is a little bit more of the EPA's own perspective. I really lack that in reading this document. Given the fact that our community is quite sensitive to this topic, I would have expected that Tassal and the EPA actually put a little bit more effort into it to assess this, and at least make sure that the documents that are provided to the community are up to date. There is so much inconsistency. Like, for example, the dilution report is mentioning the relocation and upgrade of the outfall pipe, which is not part of this proposal. The marine report is talking about similar things. There's just too much inconsistency that makes it difficult for me to make an informed decision. And when I struggle with it, I wonder how the EPA could do this. So, that's my main concerns. I fully understand that this is outside of our jurisdiction. That's the EPA. And will I be cynical enough to say, lucky Tassal, that it's a level 2 activity and it's not our responsibility to assess those issues? Because, I struggle to accept, the decision based on what I just explained. The reports seem outdated to me, and I wonder what the problem would have been to ask for a more updated or more recent marine environmental report or assessment.
You're saying that you wish the EPA had.
I wish the EPA had asked for it, and it notes in the EAR that additional information has been provided by Tassal on several pages and on several occasions, yet I can't find this. there is no supplement within documents that I've been provided. There is no supplement to the EIS. There is the tables that the EPA asked to be extended. Table 10, I think, of the EIS should be extended to include numbers up to 25. It's not extended. It's numbers up to 22. So for me, the provided information just got too many holes. And again, I know that is not our responsibility, not our jurisdiction. But if it was, I would be looking at those holes a little bit closer, and I'm surprised that the EPA doesn't.
Yeah, and can I just comment too, Lucas, that we've got to remember that planning, they talked about taking planning away from councils because, you know, we get things that are hard for people to digest and deal with. But imagine if we didn't, you couldn't have your say. You know, yes, you know, like, so how important, that it is that we're still, even though the planning hats that we put on are hard, because we are told by the EPA quite plainly that that's their response, not ours to question. So I know it's hard, and, you know, that's one of the hard things about council, but if we didn't get them at all, I think it would be harder.
I agree.
Yeah. So can I go on to other questions? Have you finished, Lucas?
Let me just quickly go through my list because it took me a while to put it together, and I wish I would have been able to spend less time on it because there is
You have
other
gone over
important
the
things.
speaking limit, but I will let you go because it's important.
No, I think that's it. If I need to say anything else, I'll take my closing opportunity then. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah, you do get that opportunity at the end. Thank you. Okay, do I have another councillor that has a question? Yes.
I'd like to speak against the motion on the basis of hazardous use, E1.5.2. The use is classified as hazardous as chemicals stored in the site exceed the manifest quantity under work health and safety regulations, and they're in a bushfire code overlay, which presents a considerable risk for fire spread. A hazardous use must only be located in a bushfire zone area if a tolerable risk from bushfire can be achieved and maintained, having regard to, and there's a number of points, but the key point, in my opinion, is whether there is an overriding benefit to the community. So, although I welcome the improvement in quality of effluent into the river, I cannot see how such a massive increase of outflow and the associated extra fish in the river will not inevitably result in a massive increase in the impact on our waterways. And I think it's really clear from the science that nitrogen and nutrients damage our waterways, so they're a big problem. This DA involves a 47% increase in outflow and a doubling of the salmon being processed to 50,000 tonnes. So I think this increase would indisputably be an overriding detriment to the community. And I did a little bit of research, and the community has been gauged by numerous reports. The ABC report highlighted that salmon farming and pollution and the environmental damage were a point of contention, and out of 931 people surveyed, it was found that there was a significant sustained shift away from the community support. And I think that it's really important to look at who the community is with regard to this DA, because it's much more than a few people potentially getting jobs, and I'm not even sure about that because of the amount of money being spent to mechanise the process. It's often what you find that there's as many people losing jobs as there are getting them. So the wreck fishers, cray and abalone businesses, swimmers, sailors, bird watchers, kayakers, nature lovers, etc. And there's some research on coastal usage. 93% of Tasmanians value the coast as a very important part of their life. 88% for swimming and diving, 44 fishing, 34 boating and waterways. So
I understand that, Paul, but and I know that it says about, consultation and things like that, but this project has come with us and it's ticked the boxes.
but it hasn't, that's what I'm saying.
Well, that the community,
If you read E1.5.2, it says that it has to.
Paul, you also read where the EPA said that they have ticked the boxes.
That's
and,
not, this is nothing to do with the
This is one of our
EPA.
matters.
Nothing to do, this is our matters.
All right.
Bushfire. It's straight out of the planning scheme. It has to meet that code, and the bushfire management report, page 464, does not address it. And it's by far.
Is that a question then that you want to raise with a director? Is that what you're?
Well, I'm speaking against the motion, but if there needs to be, I can put a question as a secondary thing, but I don't need to do it at this stage.
You'll just leave it as your statement.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry I interrupted you. You can finish.
but it's definitely very much a planning issue, and it's not. I think it really should be addressed in the correct way.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Do I have others?
Just a point of clarification. This was as Councillor Moshek said, 1,000 pages was a lot of very repetitive 1,000 pages too. I think I saw the same graph about 8 times. But when you take away all the stuff that's there, the stuff that we're looking at is really an extension to a car park, a couple of new tanks and a bung around a new tank and a small outbuilding next to the tank. And that's really about it, really, for what we're... So they're not increasing, and I looked at the hazardous stuff as well, there's a lot of hazardous materials there, but they're not actually extending that. So I'm assuming that's all been pre-approved when this was approved, whenever it was approved, and if they're not intensifying the amount of storage, can we actually ask that question? And the reason I'm asking is my issues are lighting. So can I ask, for example, that lighting standard be applied to all the lights on that site, or is it only the lights that they're actually adding to the site that I get to have a go at? So are we even more limited, is what I'm saying. You can look at that little bit, but not that bit, and certainly not that bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it
Can we
a
ask that?
technical question?
So which part? The intensification of storage? Well, one can't retrospectively go back and ask them to do things for something that's already there. In theory, you're looking at the application before you, you're making conditions on what's being proposed in terms of that additionality in that application is what I would suggest.
So then can that bushfire issue be raised because they're not actually touching the storage of hazardous wastes? They're not. There's nothing that I could see that they've said we want to build another fuel tank or another storage. They'll probably use more of the stuff for cleaning, but are they going to actually store more?
I think it's the more,
They're seeking approval for increasing
because
it.
they need more.
The storage as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That was my point of clarification.
Okay. Any others? Yes?
So just on that point that we're talking about here with what you're talking about in the storage, can this just still be included but request more information? Like, is that a possibility? I don't.
Getting clarification.
Well,
for
what we're saying about the planning, how you said it doesn't meet the planning.
I don't believe it meets.
No, you don't believe it does.
E1.
Can we clarify that it either does or doesn't to move forward?
It's a very subjective measure, though. It's about social good. So how we've got to make that decision here, I think.
Yeah, and these are back to the scheme, the subjectivity in the scheme, the good old have regard tos, that are as as Councillor Gibson said in his statement, in my opinion.
Yeah, right. We could drive a fish stock through it.
Yeah.
Others have other opinions, yeah. So, and these are the things that as a council we've been.
We have to weigh it up.
Well, we have to weigh it up at the moment, and it's also what we've been advocating for with the state government around clarifying the have regards, so that there's actually confidence for applicants and more consistent and better decision making around council tables.
I made a call to the Tasmanian planning scheme because I was concerned about this, and there's a whole list of I think it goes to A to E, and I was saying, look, which ones take precedence? And they said very clearly it depends on the situation, and it's totally situational. And in my opinion, that's the one that is the critical one for this DA. Yeah. There are other ones that I think it's a bit borderline, but that one's clearly wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, look, there was a lot of material there to get through, and I'll admit I don't understand it all, but I do support the recommendation, and I don't know if it's of any consequence or not, but in our January reports, we did 58 water quality tests this year. 2 of those didn't quite come up to spec, were retested and came up to spec, and the test points were Dover, Drip Beach, Surveyors, Verona, and Randalls Bay. So it's a lot of testing done in that site. So
Did they test for nitrogen?
I'm not sure what they test for. I just know they passed.
Art testing? Art testing is in Terracotta.
Yeah, bacterial testing for swimming and water quality. Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
No, sorry. No. Yeah, do I have? Yeah, that's okay. Yes.
Sorry, thank you, Mayor. I think the thing is when these things come across to us, I think there's a lot of members of the community that think that we do the whole shabam thing from start to finish. And, you know, we need to explain to people that we're here, like you said, to talk about what we are talking about.
That's the DA.
But if none of this happened, they would bypass us completely. We would have no information given to us. We would have no control. We would have no idea what was going on. We wouldn't have a communication or a relationship with regulating bodies. So the fact that this does come to us, as difficult and as controversial as it may be, and it will be, and it is, at least we have got, you know, a finger in the pie.
Yep.
Which is better than having no finger in the pie.
And there is other avenues to go to.
Correct. And, you know, there are opportunities for people to oppose this in different ways. So I've learned very early on, remember how I asked too many questions about things that were not related to anything? I tend to focus on, but it is always going to be controversial because we're talking about an industry that's big. But I think I'm comfortable looking at what I'm looking at, but I'm uncomfortable with the information that we're giving, which has nothing to do with us. So I think it's a difficult one.
It is.
You know.
Yeah. Yes, Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Mayor. And thanks to the Director for his answer to my emailed questions, which largely answer those. Councillor Gibson, you've got me thinking on the bushfire again. And I'm really on topic with that this week. And you know, I like to be purposeful in terms of the reason we're making decisions. So when you hone in on one criteria or one sub-criteria in a performance criteria, to make sense of that, part of what I might do is go up to the objective level of that. And I'll just read that out. That vulnerable uses can only be located on land within a bushfire-prone area where tolerable risks are achieved through mitigation measures that take into account the specific characteristics of both the vulnerable use and the bushfire hazard. To me, that objective, there's a couple of elements. So one is the proposition that maybe the vulnerable use isn't located on bushfire prone areas. And that says, so we know through our mapping that the only bushfire prone bushfire prone areas in our municipal area are in the centre of the towns. Yeah. So to me, that puts the alternative that you might want to put these industrial chemicals and their uses and so forth in the middle of a town. That's the other potential, like I love devil's advocate, so seeing things from both sides. So that's sort of the other side to what that proposes. And then the objective, the purpose of this is to get the mitigation measures tailored to those specific vulnerable uses, the likely bushfire hazard. And I'm thinking we are in a site where there's a fair fuel load around it, but we've also got a really nice water break on one side, which is, so there's factors like this that I'm putting into the picture, and I'm going, yeah, I think in that context, the benefit or the sense is there in to manage that criteria. So thank you for the challenging the thinking process and helping me explore that. So that's kind of a question that's not a question, because I think I've thought through and figured it
answered
out.
it. Yep. All right.
The other comment, so another comment I was going to make was on the complex and big project evaluation nature of it. And I feel a little bit fortunate that I've done some training in environmental science and in auditing and stuff like that, and they would throw tricky situations and challenges like this at us. But it's that alternative that the EPA are trained and resourced and get to practice on doing this every day with the depth of organisational expertise, where we don't. So it is really challenging for us. But I'm comfortable with that process, and that we've been able to adequately consider our side of the conundrum that's put in front of us. And it gives me a little bit of admiration for the people that put together proposals like this and businesses like this, and actually run this sort of stuff on an everyday basis. It's a hell of a lot more complex than me running my family's food consumption and production and so forth. So, yeah, that's what industrial is about. Industry is about effort and work and productivity, and as with anything, when it gets really big and complex, it's more difficult. But on balance, I'm satisfied with, thank you, the information.
Thank you. Do I have any other comments? Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I'm going to vote in favour of this at this point in time. There's nothing that's really driven me away from that, given our role. However, I suppose I would make the comment that there are some elements of the report, like the neighbourhood studies or the social engagement. On a scale from 1 to 10, it's somewhere down about 2 or 3. And I think, of all the industries in the south that we do rely on, and there's no doubt we rely on the salmon industry in the south, they threaten all of that by not taking seriously social licence. And I think, the plea I would have as a councillor down here is big companies with resources like Tassal need to do that sort of engagement better. I read the 44 representations. There were some common themes because there was some repeated common, templated documents. But another fish company that I won't mention the other name of, had a site with lots of escaping light. And over a 2 or 3 year period, the local community lobbied that organisation until some of their executives came down one night and said, this is a bit bright, isn't it? So I'd encourage Tassal to read some of particularly the local individual representations that do talk about noise and the nighttime operations and the impact of the boats. On the other side of that, I absolutely fully agree that every employee has a right to work in a safe environment, but having something that's lit up like the Eiffel Tower is not necessarily making it safer, and I'll talk about dark skies later. And thank you for adding in, and again, the lighting report was weak. It didn't talk about escaping light, it was just talking about one very particular standard about roads, not about the impact that site has on everybody else. So to be a good corporate citizen, organisations like Tassal need to go, well, should we change all our lighting that is shining out like a beacon? And look, to be honest, I haven't been on the river or over at Bruny and looked across at it, so I'm just basing it on what people have said. But there's an opportunity when they are investing money, and my one plea, I suppose, for all of these extractive industries that they be the best corporate citizens they can, and full points for the fact that they are spending a lot of money getting a much better output, so they are increasing their production, but they're significantly improving their waste product or what goes back into the sea. But really just to sort of say that, I don't think we have a grounds, and I note Councillor Gibson's comments, but I don't think I interpret it that way. So I don't think we have grounds to say no to the development, but I certainly think having the documents here makes it transparent. I agree, having it in a back room in state growth where some mate or somebody signs it off in a DAP process would be horrific, and the community would be rightly suspicious of that process. So at least it's there, people can look at it, they can appeal it if they want to, but also I think the companies need to respond to that feedback the community's giving them. Think about their lighting, think about their road use, think about the other people who live on that road, and all those sort of things, and be the best corporate citizen they can.
Thank you. Do I have any other? No?
Can I just add on a small comment, because we've got dust here too. And it, I'm an explorer, idea explorer, so it's that concept of, like, where's the dust generated from? Is it local residential use, or is it someone else that's coming in and using that road infrastructure, whether it's the industry that's based at the end of the road or the peak season tourist industry travellers and so forth. And that bushfire location concept made me think, well, we simply cannot afford and resource sealing roads outside everybody's houses. So it is the price we pay, or one of the compromises that we suffer when we live in a rural location on a gravel road. But the flip side is that we've got manageable rates and we've got space around us, I guess. So, but it did occur to me reading through this that there's a tension between the one of those bushfire mitigation measures of keeping vegetation less than 100 millimetres high around the site, and yet another one of the criteria was managing the stormwater runoff. So if you let the bracken, or if you watered the vegetation and kept a green garden buffer around the site, you might improve the penetration of rainfall and reduce the stormwater runoff off-site. So it does occur to me that sometimes our prescriptions for one issue, such as keep the fuel low, might make another issue worse. And I one day we'll get the system right in how we design it. But yeah.
Okay. Lucas.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with Councillor Jessup. There is not much that we actually can have to decide here as a planning authority. The items or the issues that we have addressed, I think, have been addressed really well and are conditioned to a degree that is acceptable. What I don't agree, having listened to the discussion, what I don't agree with is that we should be satisfied with having just a finger in the pie. I think at the moment it feels like we're just allowed to smell it. I personally prefer we should be part of writing the recipe as well, not just having a finger in there or even just smell it. Like this is a process that should be far more democratic. That should be much more back and forth communication. Like I really struggle with that, to just accept. I know it's the EPA and it's a government authority, but they are playing a game on our turf in this situation and making decisions that are affecting the people living here. And I think as we are a major stakeholder, we deserve the right. We have to demand the right to have a little bit more of a say on applications like that go out to third parties. I think I've said enough.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, if that's the case, I'm going to put the recommendation forward. So all those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. That's Councillor, the Mayor, Sally Doyle, Deputy Mayor Thorpe, Councillor Armstrong, Councillor Jessup, Councillor Armstrong, Robertson, sorry, Councillor Rozak and Councillor O'Neill. And all those not in favour, Councillor Gibson, and that is moved. Thank you. And thank you for the discussion on that. Understand, Paul, that there is people that don't, would be very much against this. So I understand how hard it is for you when you have to do that, vote against something that it's not our process. So thank you, Paul, for at least putting why forward. Thank you. And thanks, Lucas. That was, well done.
Pleasure.
Okay. We are no longer acting as a planning authority at
7:02 p.m.
Sorry that was hard for you, young man, when you wanted to say something, but we're not allowed to allow from the gallery. So one day you might become a councillor and then you can have your say. All right?
Come back next month.
Council elections in October. How old are you?
Are you 18?
Yep.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, just keep your eye out then. Recommendation 11.00426. The recommendation is that the 11.004/26 general reports and minutes from the 1st to 31st of March 2026 be received and noted. Do I have a councillor to move that, please? Councillor Gibson, and a seconder, Councillor Thorpe. You wish to speak to these, councillor?
Yeah, they were a good set of reports. I put a few notes in. It was good to see the take up of the monthly newsletters, which I think is an excellent thing. I was also the broader food project, mapping and growing and food security and resilience. I thought that was excellent. And interestingly, I've had a couple of calls about that over the last month too, which is I will follow up. I really enjoyed talking to the staff at the Taste of the Huon stall. I think that was a really good thing to do. A lot of people were engaging with it, and there were some good conversations there as well. Interesting, the Southern Regional Cat Management Working Group, and in relation to the cat management item in the agenda. So I don't know whether involving volunteers in cat management through that sort of working group would be I think that would be a good way to at least get some traction in that area. And there was some mention of the Regenerative Agriculture Network, and I think that's also extremely good work. And next summer is going to be a super El Nino with high drought, high heat. So encouraging any regenerative agriculture work would be great. I did have a question on the resheeting. Generally, just because of the fuel crisis and the availability of high-grade bitumen, and whether that is going to affect us or whether we're just going to use the lower quality Mexican grade material, and at what point that might become an issue, I guess, and whether then we make decisions about deferring work to get a better quality finish or not. So that was a question just around that.
So would you like?
Would you like to add to that?
Yes,
Yes, sir. Yep.
can do. The majority of our reselling was already undertaken while they had product available. We do have the last 2 roads where we have been contacted by the supplier to say that the polymodified binder that we normally require as part of our tender process for sealed roads isn't available. But we have had an alternative product, which is actually the product that State Growth use on their roads. So they've got us all the supporting information and given us the information that we needed to say that it is a suitable product for the work that we wanted to undertake. So we've switched to that particular product so we can continue on with this year's program. We had already done the reseal prep, so we had some targets that we needed to meet. With regards to the pricing, most contractors were tender for. So it's anything that's coming in after those tenders will be affected by the price increases. So at the minute we're holding steady.
But that's the binder, but what about the bitumen itself? Is that
That's all part of that same product.
That's a whole package.
Yep.
And is that still coming from reserves, or is it?
The source of it, I'm not sure.
It's your broader concern we share.
Yeah.
The short answer is this year. There's been a switch and it's under control. Longer term, we're concerned about next year's capital program. Yeah.
Fair enough. The Wattle Grove landslip repair, is that going to 2 lanes or is that still going to be 1?
So it is going to be 2 lanes at this stage.
Now
So
you go into the bank now.
yeah, so we've gone into the. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
We went into the bank by putting some curb and channel in there just to allow us to get that width without having to go further into the bank, because obviously we don't want to cause any further disruption to the bank. That just gives us that little bit of width to move over so that we have the width to do 2 lanes still, but keep the traffic off the edge where we had that slip. Yeah.
That sounds like a good economical solution to what looked like something pretty intractable.
Yes, well, it will be monitored ongoing. So this is our interim solution. Hopefully it will prove to be successful. If not, we will look at other alternatives which may reduce it back down to 1 lane again. So this is our attempt to do a cost-benefit solution in that situation. Yeah.
Well done. Yeah. Thank you. That's all, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Do I have any other wishing? Yes.
Just a query, I think we're in the right section. In regards to waste, timber waste, there's an alternative method of handling timber waste rather than mulching prior to transport. Is that just related to green sort of roadside waste, and what would that method be?
That we're talking about timber as in demolition type.
So
timber.
it's actually building material.
Building material.
Yep.
Yeah, and household.
Just carting it.
Household furniture, etc. So at the moment, it gets ground up to the same quality for transport purposes, just to get the density down, because you pay for the volume you're moving, basically.
Right.
So we're almost over mulching it because we run it through the same process we do for green waste, which makes literal mulch to put on people's gardens.
Okay.
The same machine comes down. So we're just looking at options to be, do we need to actually take it that far? It's just
So don't refine it so much, basically.
correct.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
That's fine. Yeah, it's just curious.
So we can't recover more of it? Do we have a recovery?
We've got the team are looking at options there as well. We've actually got a grant submission in to get some simple block work effectively, so we could petition out and try to start encouraging users to separate their stuff. I mean, it is ultimately those timber piles are they're full of nails. They're hazardous environments, so you need to do it really carefully. The short answer is there's really good product in there, and at the rate of the lineal metre dollar rate, there's huge value, but it's so mixed up. So much of it's coming from construction where builders are just ripping it down and getting rid of it. It is a difficult one to handle. We're looking at options though.
We're doing
We did.
stuff there, but
he's moved on, and he was a passionate denailer, and he did a great job, and he couldn't keep up with the demand for that denailed timber. So we're looking at ways to make that easier. But yeah, like I said, it's a challenging resource stream, and it's just, you don't want to see anything that could be reused going elsewhere, but you've got to find what that price point is. And if the users of the waste transfer station aren't valuing it themselves, and aren't willing to make some decisions at the point of disposing of it to clean it up, it makes it then very hard to have staff with work health safety obligations to separate it and deal with it properly. Yeah.
There's some mention of some tree management works in some of our parks and reserve type areas. And I've seen some conducted recently in Heritage Park in Geeveston. I'm wondering, are we also replanting and re-establishing some of those areas to continue tree cover and occupancy on those sites and enable succession?
In a general sense, I mean, we do replanting. I don't know the specific sites that we've been doing that work on. I'd need to get you an answer from that actual team of what they're doing right now. But yeah, sure, go for it.
I just know that our nursery recently provided a whole bunch of plants to our Parks and Reserves team, so they utilise those to plant them. So that's one of the benefits of our nursery, and that was recent in the last month, so no doubt they are planting in those areas.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, we do, as I said, we definitely do planting. I just don't know if it's actually actively replanting areas that we're currently removing trees from parks and things like that. So I'll clarify, but yeah, we absolutely do plant, and we do use the NRM raised trees.
Yeah, awesome. If the loop's closing, I'm happy.
All right, do I have any other? Yes.
Yeah, thank you. The living well in the Huon, Huon Valley Housing Plan 2646. Have I missed that? Have we seen a draft of that, or is that?
It's an early development thing that we're doing in-house, and yeah, once we've got to a position where we're comfortable with the draft product, we want to workshop it with councils.
So that's a May, June consultation, right? That's not going out to public consultation?
Absolutely not, no. It'll always come through councillors first. Yes.
I know you wouldn't. You wouldn't forget us. But some of us might have an opinion on that bit of work.
Look forward to hearing about it.
Yeah.
Lucas and yeah, absolutely.
So, do we have any other? Yes, Councillor Armstrong? Yep.
So just want to touch on the staff turnover trends. So we're up compared to last year, 2%. Last year was down from the year before, which was 14.8%. Is there a reason, or it's a little bit more, but is there a reason that it's a bit higher this year?
Your time to shine.
Please.
Through you, Mayor, what page are you on?
I'm on page 73 of 121 in the book. It's the People and Safety Quarterly Update. Not sure where we are on the pages.
Somewhere in the thousands.
Yeah, somewhere in the thousands, probably 1,200.
Yes, so it's at the end of last year and the start of this year, we did have quite a high turnover. There weren't any trends that we could pick up from that turnover. It was for various reasons that people left the organisation. There was nothing alarming. We did look into that. There wasn't anything alarming that we needed to address in that. It was just natural turnover, and the 24-25 period actually had quite low turnover. So any increase in that was going to show a difference in that, but nothing that we've identified as alarming or needing to address.
Okay, good. I was just concerned because we've just been through the restructure and we've had enough time to settle into the restructure. And I'm sort of thinking, is that figure reflective of people not being happy with how we're moving forward or blah, blah, blah? But That is correct. The year before was quite low in comparison, so that's a good explanation. Thank you.
We're just for, I mean, yeah, we're well past restructure now,
Yeah.
and there's lots of drivers, but just for, we have been extraordinarily low the last couple of years. At the current stats nationally for rural councils are up to like 22% annual turnover. The sector as a whole is 15%. Turnover is not necessarily a bad thing.
No, that's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, having it, at that 10%, I think that's actually getting back towards where you'd like to see that or slightly higher as a long-term average, so that we are getting turnover in the staff, training people up and setting them free, and getting fresh blood into the organisation as well.
And I know we're low across the board because I did do a bit of a look online to see where everybody else was. But it was just, I just thought there might have been a factor or two that we needed to know about, but all good.
We do still struggle with the exit interviews.
Yeah, well, that's why I was wondering if there was a bit of a theme going on there.
That's through the low times as well. We've had that. It's just
Offer incentive.
well, some councils just force it. Some councils do just
Give
make
you a
make
bonus
it
if you
mandatory.
tell us, because it's all useful information.
Are you guys going to sign off on the bonus?
Yeah, very small ones. Chocolate frog.
Okay. We are, look, Ray and her team are making every effort to, but yeah, we don't force people to.
And with the implementation of the HRIS, that will become a lot easier. It'll become part of the offboarding process, which will happen whilst they're still employed with council.
Going there, the Port Huon pool on page, whatever it is, 1053, just noting here that talking about the bathroom facilities, I actually read in the paper today that the bathroom facilities are now open, according to a person who wrote into the paper, which was nice today. So that's work's now all finished, I'm taking it. Do we know what the numbers were? There's a comment that the numbers were pleasing, but were they close to what we forecast the Port Huon pool numbers would be?
Tim, the manager in that space, is putting those numbers together, and we'll bring that through to you guys. Yeah, absolutely.
But from the gossip I've heard, that the patronage has certainly been up on past.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Even with the difficulty with the change rooms, they've still had people there, had good numbers.
Well, you recall the workshop we had recently on the pool, on the Huonville pool. We looked at the Port Huon ones as well, which showed those stats up. But I don't.
So we've got ticketing. Is it automated ticketing in place yet?
Point of sale system is in place, and is still improving. But you can now get the facility of the family passes and all that kind of stuff is all happening. So
You can count people and total attendances, but also total individuals now. We can sort of separate that out now a bit better.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, cool.
Yep.
Good.
Sorry, through you, Mayor.
Yes, I know.
Sorry.
What have I done now?
Nothing, but I'm sure it was coming.
Finished.
No. Councillor Jessup just reminded me of something, talking about the Port Huon pool. Great compliment today from a client. Thought the change rooms were beautiful. Happy the sauna's open. But I also had another client ask me about the pricing structure. They're a bit confused with the pricing structure. I don't know about the pricing structure. How does the pricing structure fit? Like, how is that made up?
We agreed to fees in our fees and charges. So, yeah.
Because I can't remember how it went, but something along the lines, I wrote it in my appointment book, which is not with me now. Something along the lines of a family is almost more affordable than a single or a something else. And I did have a bit of a look at it, and it did seem like a bit of a weird structure, but I can't now remember what it was. But how is that worked out per person? Like, how do we put a value on the differences? Because it doesn't make sense sometimes, because if you have a subsidy, I was going to say, what do you call it? a healthcare card or a pension discount.
There's a concession rate.
There's
Yep.
a concession rate.
Yep.
So sometimes the concession rate is almost the same as somebody else, but it's not consistent. Like you would expect discounts to be applied to people more with concessions and families. It's. Have you had a look at it?
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, we're doing fees and charges right now for next year, so
Oh.
there's the opportunity to
All right.
fix it.
Lovely.
But we'll need to unpack what exactly the problem
Yes,
is.
I know. I need to get my page out of the book, but I did have a look at it, and it's all a bit higgledy-piggledy. Like you'd expect that people with discounted healthcare cards or pensions, whatever you would expect that they would be considerably less charged than other people, but it isn't like that in the price list, I guess. But that's okay. Put that on hold. We'll talk about it later. Thank you.
Okay. We will do that. Okay, do we have any? Yes?
Just to say something as well, thank you, Mayor. Just one compliment to start with to Esther Schilling for the Youth Week Artbox installation. I had the chance last Monday, was it last Monday? The week before. Last week Monday to drop in and have a quick look, and the entries are magnificent. It just showcases such a wide range of artistic skills that our young people have. So if it's still on, walk past, have a look. It's certainly worthwhile. That's the comment. Then I had a question. I'm not quite sure if we've seen that kind of table already before. It's in regards of the Hall's quarterly report on page 66 of the printed papers. So how do those numbers make sense? I like numbers, but I can't kind of figure it out. And what are they actually telling us? Like when I look, for example, just the comparison of hall booking, year to date 24-25, and because Signet is my favorite town hall as I live there, I just look at those numbers. So it's 555 for the year to date 24-25, and it's hall bookings year to date 25-26, 546. So that means Signet last year at the same time of year had 555 bookings, and this year we've got 10 less? 9 less?
Yep.
That's what we're saying? Okay.
Yep. So year to date.
Year to date means, for the same period, okay. Then when we look at the whole higher income and then the operational cost, those numbers, I take them as given, so whole income is plus, operational cost is minus, and then we end up with the difference.
Yep.
But then looking at the column date, amount transferred, that doesn't correspond anywhere to the income or the operational costs or whatever. So how is this figure coming together?
It is
What does it mean?
Yep, I agree. It is confusing. Is all the transfer arrangements that have happened as we've finished up with the hall committees and the cash balances that have moved, the commitments that we've made to invest into the halls is what's all tied up in that second side. There are changes that need to be made to the green half of that report, of that table, to make it make more sense, and we'll do that in the final quarterly wrap-up. There are also more costs, because this only reflects what was the whole ex-hall committees kind of component of it previously. There's also the overhead of the management that council puts into it, which adds substantial more cost to the running of the halls, which we'll do in the wrap-up for the full financial year summary. So at this stage, what I'd encourage you to look at is the comparison between hall income and that operational cost. And which is an acknowledgement of what we knew, but these things they run at a loss. And what I can tell you is that loss will be much more significant when we add in the entire end of year result. They aren't intended as councillors, we're comfortable with. They're not intended, they're not profit-making things, they're there for community benefit. But what this data was there to establish is the number of, or the value, the cost benefit that we're actually driving from these things in simple terms. The amount of bookings, the amount of users versus the carrying costs that council's got for these halls.
Can I ask for a point there? Like that operation cost, there's CapEx and an OpEx by the looks, because you can't tell me that Mountain River with 22 uses costs $22,222 to do the cleaning.
Yes.
So there's obviously a truckload of capital improvement.
It has, yeah, so it's the, it does have some building works in there, so that one includes the heat pump.
Yeah, so can we maybe, for a fairer assessment of what they're costing us, separate out CapEx? Because I'm assuming some of that CapEx will be coming out of reserves, just normal maintenance and cost.
Yep.
But
Some had the money, some halls had.
and the money's sort of still sitting out in the far corner there. So it doesn't look, and well, that's an interesting question is, like, well, it does look like, with Mountain River as an example, sorry to pick on you, Mountain River, but it does look like 25,000 of their reserve has obviously been spent doing that operational stuff as well. So that, there's a bit of data lost in the one column.
This report will completely change when we do the end of year reconciliation.
Yep.
Which is where we bring in all costs and do that full breakdown of what is genuine CapEx, what is genuine operations, and draw councils to this period where we've been upgrading some of these assets. Will conclude, and we want to be able to show councillors what their ongoing operational cost is more likely to look like as we continue to operate these things.
Well done to staff for grabbing the gauntlet, so to speak, and actually investing in improving the halls, because I think it's probably, they have been orphans a bit in a way, so it's good to see that some improvements are being spent.
It was bumpy, but we got there.
I wouldn't necessarily say that we know where we're going yet.
Well, we're there somewhere. Be positive.
We now know what they're costing and what they
Yes,
and
we
how
do.
they're being used, and that was the very
The
important
numbers,
thing to establish.
Yeah, that's right. The value.
That in itself, 2,638 uses over the year is a significant engagement with the community, so that's great.
But the halls have benefited from this though, as well. Like they're getting a bit of a makeover where they have to. And, you know, they're more usable than they were. And I know it was an outlay, but, you know, they're a little bit more welcoming for the community as well.
Some more work to be done here.
Yeah. Oh, it'll be quite ongoing for quite a while, I should think, but yeah.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Thank you. Yes.
That's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Didn't have any others? No? I need to go back and find my page now, don't I? Oh, Councillor Gibson, you need to move that probably.
Yes, well, I think an excellent set of reports and good questions and, yeah, excellent.
Well done.
Thanks.
Okay,
everybody.
well, I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors. Motion is carried. We had some workshops, but they're noted in the minutes. 13.1, answers to questions taken on notice. There was one councillor question taken on notice in the previous minutes from Councillor Morozak regarding managing wastewater. This response will be provided as in the minutes that it will be at the next meeting. There was no councillor questions on notice. Without notice, councillors, are there any questions without notice tonight? Yes, Councillor Jessup?
I have two, Mayor, if I may. I attended the extremely well organised Dark Skies event that I think the council sponsored and did with a couple of other organisations a couple of Friday nights ago. The Franklin weather was atrocious, but Jeveston had a lovely night sky, so apart from that. And apart from finding a little digital telescope about the size of a pod coffee machine that costs $600 and gives you an amazing scene on your phone, just very exciting. But it did get me thinking. The three main speakers, I suppose, were Wilderness Society talking about the Great Southern Sanctuary that they want to do, which is a nice idea, but probably out of our league a little bit. Other people will do that. There were the Dark Skies people who gave some really impressive presentations on I suppose the 5 things that we can all do to improve dark skies, and one of them was about just that not more light is better. So they had a great graphic of a light lighting up the backyard of a house, And when they did the second shot with the lower light, you could see that there was also a gate there with a bloke standing in the shadow of the gate. So if you flood the place with light, you actually lose vision of outside of the light. And I know that certainly there are some residences and businesses that think more light is better, but in fact it's probably not. But the one sort of lack, I suppose, of the presentation is that we didn't push. Yeah, the council was generic and good information, but things like what can we do with street lighting and all that sort of stuff. But it didn't sort of say what can we do as ratepayers. And I was talking to one lady who's just built a house, and we were talking about one of the lighting standards, and she said, "Oh, if I knew about that, I would have done that." So yeah, we are truly blessed with the night sky that we have down here, but it is under threat from all sorts of obtrusive light. So there is a lighting standard, which is a control of the obtrusive effects of. It just popped up there, Amy. That was inconvenient. Control of the obtrusive effects of outdoor lighting. That gives some good stuff for big parks and car parks, but it's also applicable to small residential houses. So, and I note, thank you to staff for putting it in that DA that we had. We actually included that, and I know we included it for the church in Huonville, and we're doing that with some larger areas. But I'm just wondering if staff could come back about, how difficult would it be either to request that all housing development include that down to individual houses, and how complex would that be for people to implement if it would cost more? From reading the standard myself, it says, rather than using a light that's bright and flashes up that way, get one that's turning down and slightly duller. So I don't think there'd be more cost for people to do. And why we can do it on large scale sites like the Reimagining Huonville site, and we've tackled that. It'd be nice that when people build a shed, they're not building a bright white, high volume, high lux LED light that shines over 5 neighbours' houses. So, more just sort of a thought piece if staff could have a think about that and maybe get back at the next meeting if it's legal, if it's feasible, if we think it would piss people off by asking them to do it, I suppose. I don't think it would, but I'd be interested in those staff response.
We're happy to take that one on notice.
I'll take it on notice. Can I make some initial comments on this one?
Yes, you may.
So obviously our knowledge in the dark sky space and sort of the treatments everyone can do in that space is developing. We've got someone on staff that is passionate about it. So what we're looking at is actually sort of a multi-standard approach. There are a number of standards out there for different lighting. So obtrusive lighting is one standard. There's also around the marine lighting, which obviously relates to our fish farms and things like that. There's road lighting. There's a whole bunch of standards there that we need to look at. One of the easiest way to, one of the easier ways to do it is by having it for new developments. It's easier to do it, to put those design elements in when you're building. So we do have where we can condition it, and that's linked to a provision or discretion that we're assessing. We do condition it. But also one of the barriers I'll just call out is that the standards need to be purchased, which can be a barrier for some. So what we're looking at is how we communicate those treatments without just referencing the standard, especially for your shed. If you think about your shed context, that person doesn't want to go and spend $300 on a standard. So it's about how we communicate those treatments in a sort of a plain English, easy to implement way. So that's what we're looking at, but we'll come back with a more fulsome answer on that one.
Make all those architects use it.
Thank you, Councillor. Do we have any other?
I have another one if nobody else wants to go. This is in response to after the last council meeting, and given that we got through the DA fairly quickly, I'll read my response to this. We were emailed a response, I think it was while we were talking about Signet. The lady emailed council saying asking specifically a question of me, that you mentioned the importance of maintaining the aesthetic of rural living, which this person agrees with. Can you speak to this in respect to, she uses a fairly derogatory term here, but a land development that's not to her taste, that was approved by council at the entry of Cygnet onto the Channel Highway. So my answer to that is it's really important, and I think the passion that we've developed in the Huon Valley around planning has significantly increased, and I think that's really great that we've got passionate people. I think the development that they're talking about was one that came about with the Tas Planning Commission rezoning some urban future land into residential land back in about 2022, and Lyle very kindly found the original paper, and it was obviously contentious because there was 48 representations at the time, so it is, which is a considerable number. I had a quick look at it, and again, a bit like the DA that we did, I don't think we would have had any option to say no to it, and I think a couple of councillors were here at the time. So, but I suppose the other point is that these developments would only happen if there's strong demand for land, and there is still strong demand for land in the Huon Valley. So, but ultimately for me, that particular development at One Channel Highway is an example, I think, of ad hoc planning decisions that have occurred in the absence of good strategic land planning. And I think that this is another really strong example against the development application panels, that people would just look at, we need blocks of land, so we'll just approve that, and that would happen in a dark room somewhere in Hobart, and we wouldn't be able to have an open discussion about it. But this council, I think, has put in place key documents that now shape our planning and provide a starting point. So we've got the community vision, the LUDs, the Rural Living Densification Study, and this group here has actually driven that work, and obviously with the very good work of the strategic staff. So I think this council has more focus on broad land studies, and things like the Reimagining Huonville is where we've talked to a number of landholders, because we don't hold the land. We've talked to landholders. We've said, hey, look, if we do it this way, we might get a better outcome for you. So I think that's the influence that we have. The Cygnet Master Plan clearly is another example of that. And those, I think, will lead to special area plans eventually. And those special area plans, I suppose, allow council to be a bit more supportive on what's built, how it's built, and adding, for example, obtrusive lighting standards into that. So I think, both these studies really focus on the local aesthetic, and I think this council, as a group, really values the diversity of different styles of housing in the valley. So that's good. But to be honest, the same style of development that the ratepayer discussed could still happen today on isolated parcels of land. And once it's zoned residential, landholders have a right to develop it. So that's something else we need to be realistic about. And if they build it within the standard, it can go through without discussion with us. So we're a bit limited. However, I think the approach that this council is taking to work with developers to encourage them to consider broader strategic issues and the benefits of good planning has, for both the individual development and the community at large, is really the way that we can do it. And I do thank people like Lockie and Lyle for really taking that as a reason for their existence and actually working very hard. I couldn't quite think of it, but it's a bit over the top, I agree. But thank you for your hard work. But look, and I think the community recognises that we actually do give a stuff about what our land looks like, and I thank the ratepayer for the question and giving me a chance to reinforce that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Robinson's just sent me the information that I needed before.
Did I find it?
Thank
Was
you,
that
Amy.
the point?
That was the point that I was trying to make. Getting back to the pool, I remember it all just, when someone gives you the right info, it's amazing how quickly things come back, isn't it? So what we was talking about was the monthly pass for an adult is $74, but the all facilities is $75, but the monthly pass for $74 is only for the pool and sauna, and the other pass is for everything. So we've got this discrepancy between it's almost the same to use the pool and sauna as what it is to use everything. So I reckon we might need to, which is pool, sauna, gym, court activities and classes. So I'm not quite understanding how you can get all of that for $1 extra than the people using the pool and the sauna.
No, I'm.
Have I got that wrong?
Yeah, I'm not sure you got it. Because, so.
That's what it says,
The
but
pool?
but they may not have had it because they told it to me and now I'm passing it on.
I think I would again just, I just revisit this out of session.
I think we will, we're coming up to fees and charges anyway, so we can put that forward and we'll have a look at it
I'm
then.
happy to lob in, and if I capture that point, great, and if not, you can chase it up. But if I capture it, my question would be,
I'm happy for people to capture anything.
that swim only fees are $9 for adults and $8 for concession or child. But if you buy a bulk pass for monthly or longer, there is a greater grading of fees between concession and child. So, for example, a monthly pass for adult is $74, for concession is $64, so kind of similar proportion down, but a child is $46, so way lower than the concession rate.
Yes, but look over to the usage of
Yeah,
everything.
but as we said, we're not doing free, we've got heaps of, thanks, we've taken note of that and we will
But
get back
just
to
so
that.
that just so that you knew I remembered what it was.
No, that's fine, got that, but
Just need that noted. It finally
Yes.
popped into my head.
Yep.
It doesn't happen often.
thank you, no, that's.
No,
good.
no, not really, but it's confusing, and now I understand why it's confusing.
Yeah, no.
Sorry, people.
Well, I'm confused.
Well, I'm easily confused, so I mean,
had pool
We will move on to, does anybody else have a question without notice?
no, I'll be fine now.
Yes,
It's just a follow-up question to a previous question from the Signet Men's Shed. I think I did ask it, but it obviously wasn't clear enough. And it was a question about what's the basis for the lease, whether it's for vacant land or for shed and land. And that part wasn't answered in the previous answer to the question.
Oh, I thought I did, and my understanding is it's for the land.
Okay.
And we will continue to talk to the Signet Men's Shed, and we'll talk to council laws about this. But this is one of many of the buildings that are effectively contested ownership.
Yeah.
And I absolutely invite the discussion around that ownership and actually genuinely recognising that ownership, in which case the Men's Shed can have full authority to deal with their electricity bills and all the rest of it. So, yeah. But the current leasing arrangement, the arrangements for them relate to the land. We're not renting to them a building that they believe that they own.
Good. I'll be pleased to hear.
okay.
So can I just ask a question about that? So who owns the building that they inhabit?
Well, it's evidently it's contested, but
Yes, I know, but that's why I wanted to know.
My understanding is built by a community group on council land. So
it's
they,
from out of the old materials from the tuck shop.
There was an old tuck shop there that they started to build onto, I think.
Yeah, but essentially it's been
I remember the old
rebuilt.
shop.
so the building is on our books. We recognise it as an asset. We depreciate it, etc. And these are assets where if there is a single user group that claim ownership of it and are wanting different management arrangements, etc. We've gone from a period where council wanted to try to control everything, and I don't think we have that same interest anymore. So effectively what I want to explore, and it's not only this one, but the question has come up a few times now. If the Men's Shed, I'm not going to contest that they own that, they built that building, the building can be theirs. So if we actually recognise that, there's a whole bunch of financial arrangements that are potentially in both parties' favour. And that's what we want to actually go through. We haven't got there yet. That's part of our broader asset management strategy that we've already had that draft endorsed by councillors and that we intend to take through, but I don't want to take it through in a piecemeal fashion because there's multiple of them. We have even our community halls,
I know there's a lot.
contested ownership and building over time, and what tends to happen is they get built by a community group, loved by a community group, it goes through its ups and downs. council receives ownership of it again at some point when it's at rock bottom, it hasn't been maintained, it's worth nothing. Council then invests in it, builds it all back up. That's the broader conversation of what's going on all of these, not just this particular one. That is a loved building, all the rest of it. But if it's a single user group, for their benefit, my view is they can own it.
Yeah, well, it empowers them as well
Yep.
to keep it going. So.
Yep.
There's a secondary question.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, the premise just says land and buildings, known as land kiosk and yada, yada, yada.
What's this?
In regard to my question before, where I said what they're being charged for, and the annual rent is $418, I'll add. So we're not talking sheep stations, albeit they're a community group doing community things.
Yeah, that's right.
But the premises, the description in the thing is for land and buildings. So it's the building. To my point, ultimately, it's the land that we're really renting to them.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to actually do a market test on that land, building, rent, etc., it's going to far exceed $418. So yeah, again, it's
that wording, I think, that may well have confused.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And secondary question again for the Signament Shed is, would council consider getting them to do certain works, because they're quite skilled people, and if park benches need repairing or things, they're always looking for ways of making a bit of money to keep their finances afloat. And I don't know whether there's a that they could be considered as a.
Look, we can consider that. I'll say that most street furniture, or everything now, has Australian standards that we have to maintain. The days of sort of customised DIY stuff are
fixing things or making little plaques or whatever needs to be done.
I'm not going to say it's impossible, but there's probably not huge scope for it. Is the reality.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a question that was triggered by some community member concerns regarding CCTV, in particular in Cygnet at Burton's Reserve and at the skate park, which I haven't had the time to double check myself, but apparently there's a sign saying that this is straight away directly connected to Tass Police. And I just wanted to double check, is this the case? I just retrieved an old note on the new CCTV's installation that was shared July last year, where it talks about what's happening in terms of the expansion and how it is monitored. And my understanding was that we are the ones who are monitoring this, and then Tass Police would get access to this information if there was an event that needs Tass Police to act on. So what actually is happening with this footage would be the first question, and then the other question that relates to it was that this atmosphere of a CCTV camera being installed in the space where youth wants to feel safe, uninterrupted, unobserved, contributes to not feeling safe or not feeling welcome in this place, not feeling trusted in this space. How, it's a fine line to thread. There is obviously a worry about, people doing the wrong thing in this space, and some people not feeling safe. But then on the other hand, a place that's meant to be for the youth and meant for them to be used is not used because of this installation that makes them feel like somebody's watching them all the time. So that's one thing that I would like to ask. And the other is, again, to the Cygnet skate park. What is our policy on graffitis in our skate parks? That applies to Cygnet and would apply to Huonville as well. Do we remove graffitis when they are, found? If they are offensive and whatever, I understand they would. But if there's just a nice piece of art, somebody, gives it a good go and puts a nice graffiti, would we remove it? Or is it a place where this is actually tolerated because it's part of the culture of a skate park? So do we have a policy position on that, how we deal with street art in those kind of spaces? I'm not talking about the old tag on our toilet, but somebody spray painting the ramp, would we remove it or would we keep it?
Through you, Mayor, we don't have a policy on it. I'd welcome guidance on it from councillors on it. Personally, I think those kind of places should be a place where good art can be celebrated. Don't want to be defining what good art would be, and you let the youth come up with that. But it does mean there needs to be a level of tolerance among the entire community, because there's lots of very young children that use that playground as well. There are parents that might find what 15, 16-year-olds consider art to be offensive. So there's quite a bit of thinking that would go into a policy like that. But I think it is a good idea, and it certainly encourage a greater love and ownership of that broad area, which was, prior to CCTV, being pretty broadly abused, significant amounts of vandalism that come at the cost of the entire community, and which post CCTV has abated significantly. Look, CCTV, it's an unfortunate thing that its prevalence around the entire world. I think it was one that is a difficult one to swallow. Going, we need to bring it down here, and we do have there is an MOU in place with the Tas Police, where they can request access to our CCTV footage. And we can unpack that more broadly with councillors. And in fact, we've got a CCTV policy coming next month, most likely in June, where we'll discuss this more fully. And out of that as well, some fulsome comms to the community around how this stuff is being used and why, and some of the experiences. So I fully appreciate that. It's bad to hear that youth don't feel like they're being watched and don't feel safe, and conversely other members of the community feel more safe using that space because they are, there is under surveillance. So again, all these policies are around getting that balance right.
It's a fine line, it really is.
But our CCTV policy coming in June, I think Matt gave a nod on. That's the intent. And a street art policy type thing would be something that, I'd welcome councillors' thoughts on. There's plenty of examples of other councils around there that do that.
And I'm sure Esther would be all over that to do something there with the kids as well. Following advice, what the kids find as appropriate or not appropriate.
No, and I completely agree. It is a space that's shared by a wide range of people starting very young. So of course we don't want to see anything that's offensive. But when I think of the really great skate parks that I was fortunate enough to see, where you wouldn't see a bit of grey. There was not a single bit of concrete, and there was nothing offensive about it. It was just vibrant and colourful and inviting, and a great expression of culture. Anyway, thank you for providing the context, and looking forward to look at this CCTV policy, and also reaching out to Esther, to talk about how we can activate those spaces and make them more welcoming for our youth again.
And maybe
despite CCTV.
Yeah, and maybe they're using both schools as examples of what the kids think as well. We don't do, we make decisions a lot of the time, and I thank you for bringing up what the kids think and how they feel, because we don't do that enough. So well done on that, and let's see where it goes. Let's hopefully get some good results out of it. So thank you for that. Do I have any other questions? No? All right. We'll move on to report number 15.02326, proposed draft compliance and enforcement policy, Gov in F001. I refer the councillors to the recommendation of this report. I'll have a councillor to move a motion, please. Councillor Robertson and Councillor Gibson. Councillor Robinson, do you wish to speak to this?
I move it with one small addition, in line with a practice we've undertaken previously, of doing a policy review at 12 months in. And we've done that, and the thinking, so consistent with the thinking behind it, but we're taking 3 policies and moving into 1. So that's kind of a substantial change. It's also a very public-facing, public engaging policy. And my comment would be that we're progressing, I think, potentially quite rapidly in this compliance space. And I've spoken before about encouraging the proactive communication on what happens around compliance, so people are aware of, I'm thinking of taking a shortcut here and I mightn't have the right bit of paper or whatever, but I don't want to because I remember that cautionary tale. So I think, and in 12 months we'll also have a new council, so it potentially puts a different set of eyes on it.
So, yeah.
The intention is for the new council that they review the entire suite of policies within that 12 months. So I've included that as a paragraph F, which is just simply the policy is to be reviewed within 12 months.
Are you happy with that as well?
Yes, I'm happy with that. It's fine.
Yeah, okay, all right, thank you. So,
and I count pages, so I was going to count up the number of pages in the previous 3 policies, and I haven't done that, but I know we're down to 10, and that's, I think, pretty good, and I'm pretty complimentary about the staff development of this policy and the review process and engagement of feedback in that too, so.
thank you.
So appreciate it.
Good. Do we have any others?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good balance, focusing on public health, safety, public assets and property. And I particularly like the emphasis on educating and guiding ratepayers and residents, actioning enforcement as a last resort. I think there's a good natural justice and procedural fairness. I mean, that's pretty essential, but it's really good to have it out there. Consistency and transparency, and proactive monitoring and moving away from a reactive schedule. So yeah, I think all in all, it's a really good. We'll check it in 12 months.
12 months.
Make sure it's working well.
Yeah, well done. All right, do I have any other comments or? No. Okay, I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors. The motion is carried. Report number 15.02426, proposed Yawn Valley Municipal Area Bylaw. Refer the councillors to the recommendation. Do I have a councillor to move the motion? Councillor Gibson and Councillor Mrozek. Do you wish to speak to this?
I don't have a lot to say, except that no feedback is probably a good sign. And we've been through all this before, so yeah, I'm happy to let that go through.
Yes, councillor. Oh, you're just waving. Oh, right, okay. No
I was
worries.
being polite.
Thank you. All right, thank you. All right.
Thanks for coming.
Do I have any other councillors to make comment? No, if that's the case then. Councillor Gibson, are you happy?
Nothing to close now.
All right, thank you. I'll put that motion forward. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors. Motion's carried. Report number 15.025/26, Financial Assistant Grant Scheme, DP 26-01. This is the one. Yep.
Through you, Mayor, just to clarify, an amended attachment 2 has been circulated to councillors in relation to this. The changes that have been made relate generally to the climate criteria. And on review from our environmental sustainability area, there is certainly benefit of retaining a climate and environment criteria within the criteria for the federal assistance grants allocation.
Do I have anyone? Yes, to move? Second? Thank you. Councillor Councillor Jessup and Councillor
He'd be water.
Armstrong.
No, Mayor, look, it's a complicated document. So well done, staff, for doing it, but no, I can't add anything to it.
Wow.
One question.
Can we minute that?
Yeah, no. No, it's all right.
Yeah, no,
No,
they've
he's
just been
finished.
smarty
Yeah,
pants.
that's right. You go, Dave.
Is there any weight put on medical and childcare as far as the system? Like, I noticed in one that medical or childcare doesn't, or not in medical, but doesn't count in most states. So should they be come in as a calculation to how much council should be taxed or paid?
Does that come in the CIFA analysis?
It's complicated.
Complicated.
It is complicated. In the model, there is an allowance for local government that run medical centres.
Yeah.
So,
Medical mission.
yeah, so it's not an adjustment factor that the
Okay.
discussion paper's on. It's a different allowance.
Okay.
So they do have them for medical centres. They don't have them for childcare.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Do we have any other? No? All right, would you like to close? No? Okay. Well, I'll put that. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors, and the motion is carried.
It's a nice easy agenda this evening, isn't it?
What, already complicated?
Yeah. Report number 15.02626, Land Use Planning and Approvals Act, preventing delays in development assessments timeframe. So I'll refer the councillors to the recommendation. Do I have a councillor to move the motion? Yes, Councillor Rozak, and seconder, Councillor Ball. Would you like to speak to this?
Thank you, Mayor. Just briefly, a well-written submission, I think, and what I appreciate is that it makes clear that it is not a black and white issue as you could think it would be when you read just a position paper. I think it's much more faceted, and I welcome this council's position in the submission as it makes this clear. Guess that would be the only thing that I have to say to it. Yeah, good submission and important one from this council's perspective. Thank you.
Do I have any other comments on this one? No? You're happy to close then, just to go on to the vote?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, all those in favour, please raise your hand. The motion is carried. Report number 15.02726, councillor appointment, Yawn Valley Council Livability Fund Assessment Panel. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Yeah, okay, so the recommendation is that Councillor Rozak be appointed to that one. So do I have a councillor to move the motion? Councillor Jessup, and seconded, Councillor Gibson. Do you wish to do that other than just to vote for?
Thank you for your service, Lucas.
Thanks for putting your hand up. All right, so everyone's happy with the recommendation? All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all, councillor. Congratulations.
Thank you, everybody.
Will be perfect. This one is our vote. 15.028/26, councillor appointment, Yawn Valley Emergency Management Committee Municipal Chairperson. Another mouthful. I refer the councillors to the recommendation, but there I have another point to add in that's not in that recommendation the councillors wish to speak to.
Just before that point, Mayor, just to confirm for the public's benefit, there was an error in the report. Paragraph 20 should simply say it will then be recommended to formalise the appointment, not appoint Councillor Gibson to the audit panel.
Yes, I did read it.
Yes.
One of these issues when you read the reports that you bring over and then read it 3 times.
Can I just say that I did put my hand up for this role, but because I think it's a really important area, but I'm very happy to stand aside knowing Councillor Robinson's interest and skills in the area. So I'd like to retract mine.
Okay, so you've got record of that then? Yeah.
So through you, Mayor, in that case, Councillor Robertson is declared elected through that process. So the recommendation will be that A, the report and appointment of councillor member for Huon Valley Emergency Management Committee Municipal Chairperson be received and noted. And B will be the further motion that in accordance with section 21(2) the Emergency Management Act 2006, the Council determines Councillor Robertson as the chairperson of the Huon Valley Emergency Management Committee for the term until the issue of certificate of election for the 2026 councillor election.
Thank you. So, if we're all happy with that,
I'll just briefly express appreciation to Councillor Gibson, noting his long experience of care for his community and involvement in voluntary service with that. I'm in the middle of a week-long fire conference in Hobart this week, so I'm being terribly nerdy, but I don't expect a bushfire in the, what have we got, 6 months? And
Might get a flood,
can be other emergencies, you know.
There can. There can.
Yeah, and we've had them, but
Yes.
yeah, so, yeah. Okay, so I need a mover for that. Yep, moved by Deputy Mayor Thorpe and seconded by Councillor Jessup. Is that right? And then we just vote on that? Yep. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors, and congratulations, Councillor Robinson. Report number 15.02926, cat management in Tasmania. Do I have a councillor to move the motion? Not all at once. Councillor Armstrong.
Allow me.
And Councillor Gibson. Okay. Would you like to speak to this one?
No, because I might say something nobody wants to hear.
Okay. Good. I'll agree with that then. Is there any other comments?
I think it's all moving in the right direction. It is a very complicated area. I mean, and the money side of it, if there was a lot of money to throw, it would be easy. I mean, I'd like to see free microchipping and free desexing as just because it would start to resolve the issue. But you know, I can't personally pay for it, so yeah, I think that what we've put forward is very comprehensive, and we'll wait to see what comes back.
Thank you. Do I have any other comments?
Anybody else want to say anything? No. There is free desexing in certain places, which I found out on Facebook whilst having a chat. For God's sake, people just be responsible animal people, you know, like get your cat desexed, get a microchip, keep them inside. These poor things that are going to be killed, it's because of people, not because of the cat. You know, I just feel very sad that we have these animals that are living like this, but, you know, there are things we can do about it. So if people just get their crap together and take advantage of what there is for free or reduced. But obviously something needs to be done about it because there's all these other things that come with feral cats and everything else. So, you know, I've tried to be nice about the whole thing, but...
Lots of education.
Yeah, lots of education.
Culture.
That's it, you know. And I know it's difficult because traditionally cats keep the mice down and, you know, that's probably okay if you contain them at some stage of a night and have them desexed. But, you know, just people need to just take responsibility for their stuff, including their animals. Thank you. That's it.
No worries. All right, well, I'll put that forward. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors. Review of Delegated Authority Building Act 2016, report number 15.030/26. Do I have a councillor to move the motion here, please? Councillor Thorpe and Councillor Robertson. Councillor Thorpe, do you wish to Thank you. Does anyone else have a comment on this one?
Was this the delegated responsibility?
Yep.
I just had one question, which was, are there any, in that long table, are there any changes to the delegations, or is it simply the connection of Senior Manager Health and Compliance to the existing delegations?
Three in there, purely the connection. And they're all the delegations that are currently sitting with the Senior Environmental Health Officer, as well as there's some changes there with Director of Infrastructure and some other things. No, not in that position. So yes, it's just purely that position.
Very comfortable with that.
All right. Do I have any others? No? No, no closing then, councillor? Oh, okay, I'll put that motion forward. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors. Thank you. Finance report, March 2026, report number 16.006/26. Councillors, to the recommendation of this report. Will the councillor to move the motion, please? Councillor Robinson, Armstrong, sorry, and Councillor Gibson. Councillor Armstrong, no comment. Any other comments on the finance report? Yes, Councillor.
I noticed that we made a bit more money out of public open space changes. Is that because of the case where we're charging for additional blocks on open space?
Mayor, I can't say categorically. We have had a number of final plans that have been finalised in the last month, 2 months, but potentially.
I just think it's unfortunate that we're adding another cost to the cost of building a house. And is it 5% for a, yeah. So before December, if I had a block of land that could be 2 blocks, I'd be paying about 15,000 because it'd be only on one block. But now I'll be paying 30,000 just to cut a block in half. And I think in the current climate, we've agreed that housing costs too much, and the current climate with PVC plastics, it's just a more fuel on the fire, and I just think it's in the wrong direction. That's just a comment. Another thing I noticed, this been a thorn in my side, is the unnamed road that goes into the Signal Oval. It's been, I just want to understand what the future holds for it. So it had a budget of 95,000 to be resealed, and we've spent 37,000 on it, but we haven't sealed it. So will the 57,000 that is still remaining be carried over and sealed in the future? It won't have to come up again for. We won't have to argue again that that road will be sealed. We agree that it will be sealed, but sometime in the future. Would that be? I just want to tell people when they ask me, because like I said, that road's been quite rough and horrible with those popular trees for a long time, and being in that area as a resident, I get a lot of abuse.
I can imagine.
And now it's been sealed partly, and other places are sealed around it, and it wasn't sealed. So I get a lot of questions. What's going on here? So if I can say, once it settles down in a year or two, it will be resealed. Is that a fair explanation?
I'll pass it through to the acting director.
Yes, so as you are aware, it was heavily impacted by the roots of those poplar trees.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So we've taken those, we've removed the trees, we've removed the seal.
Yep.
We really want to give that time to make sure those poplar trees will not impact into the future.
Yep.
So we did, extensive work to try and remove the roots. We just want to make sure that we've hit the mark before we come back through.
So the money's still, it's given time to settle down, money's still in the budget, and it'll be done in the future. Okay.
And it's sealed on the other side because it's a bridge approach. So that's why it was partially done.
Yep.
Approaching the bridge.
Okay. Thanks for that. That's good clarification. Thank you.
Yep. Do I have any others? Yes.
It's great to see that we've down from $500,000 to almost break even, so that's a fabulous outcome. I can't see any one particular theme that's come from it. We're a bit up in revenue, we're 150 grand up in revenue, and we're 350 down in costs. But the costs seem to be sort of spread. Is there anything? Is there anything? Is there anything that stands out of how we've turned around $500,000 basically? Is really what the bottom line is.
Okay, well, I'll come through you to be able to determine.
Who wants it? Tracy, you want to talk to it? Ray, you pick a number.
I can talk to it. There's no one thing. There is no one thing there. It's just a collection of all those amounts that we've spoken about. The Huonville Reimagine grant, I think with what we were talking about earlier with the rescheduling some of the strategic planning projects is probably a good percentage of it.
Okay.
That's expenditure that will happen. It'll just happen largely at a different time.
So next year's council will be up for, because we've got the
Be put
income now and that I have the
No, it'll be
expenses.
put into future budgets.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not through vacancies not being filled or anything like that, or it's just a bit here, a bit there.
Like I said, last time, I think the underlying, just units are managing their budgets appropriately across the board, which is just keeping keeping us on track. And then ultimately, you've got a whole bunch of ups and downs from, planning scheme changes where we're still trying to settle how, what income looks like there. Adjustments that have been forced on us around the strategic planning, as Tracy's just outlined with Huonville Reimagined. As you know, they're still waiting on the deed to get signed. So it's all these things are just, adjusting. In this case, they're in our favour. But yeah, there's no planned. I wouldn't call them. It's a structural improvement. It's
been frugal.
It's been fortunate, but it's underpinned by just managing your budgets appropriately across the board.
Well, and I think it goes that we're conservative in setting the budget, and then we're managed in managing it, because there's a lot of other councils who are going in absolutely the other direction, which is not good. So well done.
Yes, Councillor.
And I'll just throw a comment in after that, because I actually, I'm wary of looking for situations where budgets are set conservatively, because we've got to remember that the people paying a heap of this budget are our ratepayers, and we also look at the outstanding rates component of the report. And when I see a minor increase since last year, and I sit here and think, last year we heard there was a minor increase on the year before. At what point does that cumulative pressure reflect a community that is struggling with affordability? So my personal view is that we can't be too conservative in setting a budget. We've actually, it's really difficult, but we've got to try and get it right. And again, so here's another one of those really complex pictures where, there's so much complexity that bits go up, bits go down. And I was sort of looking through some of the works projects to see if there was anything happening there. And I was noticing that quite a few at 100% complete had a little, still had money in the pot, which if you're budgeting conservatively is great. But if if our business practice was to do that across the board, then potentially we're pushing that conservatism too hard. I think I'm just sharing an observation. It's a bit of a warm-up of my thinking as we go into the next couple of months of setting a budget. But that's the really difficult balance of this complex picture that we need to try to get. My point is, get it right. Actually find the balance point rather than try to lean one way or the other.
That's what we've been showing that though.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Councillor Armstrong, yes, sorry.
Look, I was just a bit surprised to see the $150,000 reduction in childcare service income from reduced enrolment. And because everything I've heard is that there's this huge high demand. So I guess I was just wondering if somebody could unpack how that happened.
It's an interesting period. So we've got, there's a lot to that. So we've had some particular staffing issues, as councillors know, and I won't go into. But then underpinning it as well, we've actually just got a large cohort, which is effectively a COVID baby boom that's across the board. There's been a couple of other family daycares and other ones that the Mayor is aware of that have never sought children to come in.
They're putting out.
And they're putting out advertising saying, I've got. So we're not alone in this. So there has been a bit of a dip. So what we've effectively seen is a really large cohort have moved through to school this year.
There was a big number.
A large number of these children readying school age and moving through.
Time of year though?
Well,
this is
remember this is your quarterly update, and it's been slow to fill them back in. So so it's unusual for us where we've still got people on the list, but they're effectively future bookings, and they're not yet piling straight in. So there is a bit of a broader trend. It's impacting us, but it's one of a number of things that are unique sort of features that we've experienced in this last quarter.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there'll be hopefully a bit different dip.
Next quarter.
Yeah. Yeah. But I've had other childcares, speak to me that that's just had gone to school. There's no other reason. They haven't not taken their children out or anything. It's to do with them starting school.
There will also be across the board cost of living. We know there's families that are making a decision to go to work is marginal when you consider the cost of childcare. When you add on escalating fuel prices and all the rest of it, are we going to see a long-term dip where more people just actually choose that I am going to stay home and be with the children and take them out of care because it just doesn't make financial sense as it has in the past. So, we live in uncertain times. There's some quantifiable issues that have hit us in this quarter that we've updated on, but there is also this potential trend around just cost of living and what that might mean for childcare ongoing.
But what do we do? Do we foresee that that's not going to change, or do we move forward?
And these might be things we unpack a bit more when we talk about the childcare centre and closed. But there's also upside here. So there's government guarantees that are coming in with the federal government. A place for all 3-year-olds that's not means tested, etc. So there's demand increases as well as just the ongoing growth in the area. So it's probably probably the safest bet at the moment is we've seen a little dip because of this cohort, this little baby boom cohort has moved through. It'll be a slow to replace them, and then we'll go back to the normal projected. Volatile times. I think
I was just going to echo the familiarity with the very wobbly chart of births year to year, because I've watched that at primary school intake point 2, and it varies very drastically. It'd be interesting to look at. I didn't look at reports from this time last year, but I imagine that February school start back emptying would be a regular.
This year was a big year, of children that age. And as we said, they were COVID babies. Anyway, all right. Any other? Okay, councillor.
So that'll be interesting for the schools. That's going to put pressure on them, isn't it? Because they're going to have lots of large classroom groups, and
which they have.
then that's another problem. But I did pick that up too, as Councillor Gibson did, and I thought, oh, why is that? And then I thought, timing's not great. Telling everybody what a big thing we are because we're all booked out, but apparently we're not. But regardless of that,
we are in some
things, and but regardless of that, the existing childcare centre has still pretty much reached its, maximum and age and everything else. So we'll talk about that later. But I just wanted to touch on this Yonville pool arrangement. Any update on what's happening with that, or are we still discussing that at a later date?
Budget.
You'll have to elaborate, I'm sorry, what's
The budget, what's going on with the Hornbill Pool? Because the budget is here for, is this year? This is this year, isn't it?
1.5 million.
1.5 million.
That's what we agreed to
That's the,
last
that's,
meeting.
that's the reserves that are there for the works that we.
Yeah, are we going to be starting that soon?
No.
Yeah, that's the work that you approved at a last council meeting, the week, the one
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
There's
But-
no, I know there's,
There's no
I know there's community concern or that we're gonna shut the pool or something.
No, I just want to know if
there's-
we're doing anything with it anytime soon. Because we have to get some more, don't we?
Yes, you've made a decision to invest in the pool, so the pool will be relined, it'll have a, access ramp put into it.
Yeah, we're sort of things.
I don't have the tender
And the
time.
tiers of silver, gold and
Yeah, correct.
amazing.
Yeah.
Can't afford amazing.
But maybe if we have a look at the project plan next meeting or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I just want to touch on it because I haven't heard much about it. That was all. I was just flicking through. But no, it's good that we're not terribly poor because we were all prepared to be a bit, not where we should have been, but it's pleasant. That was all.
Thank you. I'm glad you're happy.
Yes. Do I say
Alright.
that in language that everybody can understand? Because what time is it? Yes, it's getting a bit that way, isn't it?
All right. So, you happy now if we go to the vote?
Yes, I'm
then?
happy now, thank you.
Okay. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors and motion is carried. Report number 17.00426, the lease of Weybridge Cottage. I refer the councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move the motion? Councillor O'Neill, and someone to second? Councillor Robertson. Councillor O'Neill.
All pretty straightforward. I've been using it for a while. I probably do have a worry of what the end outcome is for that building because it's sort of just
Dilapidating.
well, I'm sure it hasn't got great foundations and
rocks.
yeah, that's right. So
So was a lot of houses.
yeah, and
That sounds like my house.
I don't know how you find a use for it that requires or makes you say you can invest in it. So it's just a few questions here about its future, but for this purpose, it's fine. Yep.
Any other questions or statements? Yes?
I guess just a question because I do understand that Signet Cares, who I'm involved with, was interested in it, and I didn't see at any point whether that was an expression of interest went out for that lease.
That's confirmed in the report that an expression of interest process was not conducted. Do you want to elaborate on that, Matt? Do you know what the
done through property rec.
yeah.
Because
It
of
effectively
the
just
condition.
relates to their ongoing, I mean, I know Signet Cares and I think others have expressed interest in the past in using it for, a variety of uses that were required that weren't just storage. That hasn't, there was interest at the time, but it never eventuated into actually, it's to that group to actually push that approach and actually say how it could be fixed up, which goes exactly to Councillor O'Neill's point. There would be substantial investment required. That hasn't moved forward. The existing lessee has had a kind of continual operation, and so yeah, we've made the decision to not put it to expression of interest, to keep it rolling. And the groups that have, for 2 years, and the groups that have had that expression previously, have been told what's necessary to do if they want to change the utility of that building.
Through you, Mayor, it is also addressed in paragraphs 25 and 26 of the report. Council noted there is some interest in the land for other uses, however, that requires an upgrade to be suitable for that use to obtain planning and building approvals. That requires either a budget allocation for the council or for a future lessee, and that option still is being investigated.
Right. Do I have any other questions about that? Do you want to close? No. Okay. I'll put that motion recommendation forward. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors. Thank you. Report number 18.01326, NRM Environment Grants. and refer councillors to the recommendation. Do I have a councillor to move the motion, please? Councillor Gibson and Councillor Thorpe. Councillor Gibson?
I thought they all looked like excellent recipients for the grants. I don't think I really had any questions about them. No, I think that, some people are doing some really good work. I like the seagrass mapping and that has been proposed, and I can't remember what the other ones were, but I did look through them and they seemed good, yeah.
All right, no problem. Do I have any? Yes, Councillor.
I have a frustration, I suppose, particularly with that seagrass one, actually, Paul. Technically, our jurisdiction ends at the high water mark, I'm told, on 1 minute, and yet we're spending $4,500 to do something which I reckon probably should be something like the EPA or another agency like that might be interested in seagrass, given how pivotal it is to the whole marine ecosystem. So look, while I think it's great that we're supporting community members to do it, it just annoys me that we're doing other people's work for them. And we also rely on volunteers to do government work. But look, it looks like a really well constructed project, but there's a certain irony that slapped me in the face when I read that one.
It's not far beyond the high tide.
Well, it probably is.
It's got to be shallow.
What does our jurisdiction end? So our planning scheme ends at the water's edge, although we've had discussion about whether potentially in some situations zoning might extend out into a water body. So that's our planning scheme. But when I looked on the list map, the line went across the mouth of the Huon River for our municipal area.
Well, there goes that theory.
Correct?
Yeah, that's correct, because we also do recreational water sampling and things like that.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
So-
good point. Yeah.
And through you, Med, that is to low water mark. It's a little bit complicated. Planning scheme has different provisions too. But the Huon River in its entirety is within the Huon Valley municipal area.
So we have jurisdiction for some things over that, yeah.
When we feel like it.
Now, when other people let us, I think is probably the issue.
Anyway, not conversation for.
No, they're good reports. Good,
Yeah, right.
good projects.
So back to you then, Councillor Gibson.
Can I
sorry.
just,
Yep.
purchase of equipment to support working bees, Friends of Randall Bay. I read that as to support the working bees and thought, why do we have bees in Randall Bay? But then I realised, don't we lend our stuff to the volunteers?
We have a land share.
Yeah, so what? So do they then keep the equipment, or does it come back to us? Or I'm just interested because I don't know very much about this. So if we're purchasing of equipment to support working bees, would that like be shovels and clothing or picks, or would that be what that would be?
Water's fertiliser and 50 tree guards.
Okay.
So they,
Yeah.
that's right.
Okay, so it's
That they're going to use.
okay. So it's not equipment to use; it's other things, right? Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Do they use our, Mayor, do they use our NRM equipment?
Much?
Yeah. So most NRM groups seem to borrow it from.
They have access to it.
Yes. Through you, Med, sometimes, obviously, for our groups that are further away, the logistics of driving all the way up to get a few loppers, sometimes it makes more sense just to have their own. But certainly we've got, big commercial grade brush cutters and things like that that they can utilise, and it makes sense for them to borrow those.
That's good.
Yes.
So I mentioned that I had that same query about jurisdiction, which I resolved. But the seagrass grant is, and I appreciate the director answering a few questions. The seagrass grant, I'm a little more nervous about because it's not just jurisdiction, it's also that's public land. So should it be our state government, if it's state land, should it be our state government's job to understand and manage the resources, the natural resources available on their land? And I think to a large degree it should be. I think sometimes you shift that when you have strong community connection to that land. which is what a Landcare group demonstrates. But then where the money is to employ a consultant. So then again, we're putting it back into a business type thing. And I'm a little more nervous about that. I recognise, so the Huon Island, there's use of a consultant, but that's a deliberate baselining thing, whereas this is an extension thing. And I asked the question, that sometimes more science is always good to have, but there was a funded project, so how valuable is the extension to that versus other things? And that general observation that I've made before, I'd love to see applications for double the number of projects and have a really competitive process. And know that, and have a good argument for putting more money in that pot. We'll go with the recommendation, but there are some concerns there.
Thank you. Thank you for putting them forward. Councillor Gibson, are you want to?
I think that's been good discussion.
Yep, thank you. All right, I'll put that recommendation forward. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all, councillors. The motion is carried. 19.01526. We are now about to move into closed council, so I'd like to thank those that were with us in the gallery that have left, and those watching at home. The recommendation is that we now be closed to the public at
8:36 p.m.
The recommendation is that the meeting now be closed to the public. 8:40. What was that? 8:40? 8:36. Thanks, sorry. Pursuant to Regulation 17 of the Local Government Meeting Procedure, Regulation 2025, to discuss our following matters: confirmation of minutes, general reports, and childcare. Do I have a councillor to move a motion to go into closed? Councillor Jessup, and a seconder. Councillor Thorpe. All those in favour? That's all councillors. I advise that in accordance with Huon Valley Council audio recording of council meeting policy, recording of the open session of the meeting ceased at
8:37 p.m.